What's up, nerds, and welcome to another exciting episode of Chad's AV Workshop. In today's episode, I want to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and that's how to wrap cables. If you know me in real life, you know I'm a total jerk when it comes to having people wrap my cables because cables are expensive, and if you don't wrap them right, you're gonna break them or they're gonna ball up. It just doesn't look professional. It's not professional. It's total garbage. So wrap your cables right. And this is how to do it. So the technique that we're going to use today is called an over-under technique. This will work with any cable, even if you're just a fan that has a really long extension cord. This is how you're going to start wrapping it. So we take our cable, and the first thing we're going to do is just an overhand loop. I think we can all do that. I'm sure we're all caught up. At this point, this is where we're gonna set the size of the loop for our cable. So if you have a really long cable, you're gonna want a bigger loop. If it's too small, you're gonna get a huge bump and it's gonna be awful. And if it's a tiny cable, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I try to make mine all the same size also. It's just fun fact. So after we're done the overhand loop, the next thing we're gonna do, the tricky part, is we need to do an under loop. And what that looks like is we kind of twist our cable so that it falls in on itself. If you look here, you can see that the front of the cable is here and the back is here, and it's kind of twisted, and that's why it's an under. So we have our over and we have our under. Now our cable's looking good. So we just repeat that pattern over and over again until we're done wrapping. So we do another overhand loop, followed by another twisting underhand loop. And the way to kind of do the under is, or both really, it's to kind of roll the cable like in your fingers. So you roll it one way to get this under loop, and then you roll it the other way to get the over. The last thing I'll say is that if you get a kink in your cable, and it's gonna happen, or your cables have been terrible for years, the kinks don't come out. The kink lives in the cable. It's up to you to get that little twist out. And the only way to do that is to kind of twist your cables around at the top with this big ball, and that's gonna sort them out at the bottom. So untwist your cables so that they're nice and free and loose. And once your twists are done, you just keep on doing your over under until your cable is wrapped. And I think that's a pretty good cable wrap. The last tip I will say is to put a little piece of Velcro on all of your cables. You can use ropes for this, you can use anything, but what I would advise against highly is tying your cable with itself. It's just not a good idea. It's a great way to break your cables. So getting these little Velcros is really handy, and they come in huge kits. I have like a bazillion of these babies. I personally like the Velcro that lives right on the cable. You can see this one never ever comes off. It is glued there, it's always there. If it's not this style, you're gonna have Velcro all over your house. So get the ones that live on the cable forever. You'll never be without it, and your cable's always gonna look good and professional. And I'll also end by saying, like, if you're a professional AV kid like me and you go to a job site, if your cable looks like this, people think you're legit. You probably are legit. If your cables are like this, you will be legit. If your cables are just a big rat's nest in a milk crate, people are gonna think you suck, because you do. So wrap your cables right. I'll see you next time.